We're now going to look at a slightly more technical way of looking at this diagram to show how a subsidy can correct the market failure of having positive externalities. When the subsidy is put in place, we know that what we ideally want to happen is for production to increase from Q all the way to Q star. So Q star is the socially optimum level of output. When the subsidy is given, you're essentially increasing marginal private benefits because the firms are receiving money. When the marginal private benefit increases, this line would move upwards. And if the subsidy is exactly the right size, what will happen is that this line will move upwards so that your marginal private benefit curve is in the same place as this marginal social benefit curve. If your marginal private benefits are now equal to this curve, it will now be true that your marginal private benefit will be equal to your marginal private cost at the socially optimum level of output. So ideally, so that the MSB curve becomes the new marginal private benefit curve. That's what you want to happen. You want your marginal private benefit curve to move up to exactly this position, so that marginal private cost equals marginal private benefit here at C, and at this, the socially optimum level of output. So if they can get the subsidy at exactly the right size, then we will end up here. And your marginal private benefit curve will be the same as this curve here. You could also give a unit subsidy. You'll have noticed here this is a pivot, and therefore this would actually be an ad valorem subsidy. This would be a percentage of the price that's given as the subsidy. The final thing to say is it could be given as a subsidy like this, a parallel shift, so that you're still coming through, so parallel, but you need to pass through C. And this, if it was a unit subsidy, would be your new marginal private benefit curve. And I'll just write here, if you're MPB1, this is a unit subsidy. It's exactly the same amount of subsidy placed on every unit, as opposed to a pivot, which would be an ad valorem subsidy. But this is just to show that if you want to discuss the diagram in a more technical way, you can talk about the marginal private benefit increasing so that your new free market level of output is actually exactly the same as the socially optimum level of output.